Time to turn our attention to the Investec Coronation Cup. Same course and distance, of course, as the Oaks that we've just looked at. And we are going to start by looking at Highland Reel, who had a magnificent season last season. This horse just seems to have got better and better with age. You don't even need me to highlight exactly where he is, because there he is, ping out in front. This is how he tends to race now. This is what he does. He's done it throughout the world. And if you roll it on for us, Rachel, we'll see that he is not for pegging back here.
No, this is absolutely brilliant, because Highland Reel is the fan favourite globetrotter. He's raced in 7 different countries. He's collected his own brace of Group 3s, and what's really nice is when he won this race last year, this was his first European Group 1, having previously taken grade in Group 1s in America and Hong Kong. So I think this actually stepped him up in the European estimation, even though around the rest of the world we knew and loved how good Highland Reel was. The nice thing is, in behind in the Royal Silks you have Dartmouth. Well, he's gone on to be a superstar, and all the way on the far outside you have Erupt, who went on to win the Grade 1 Canadian International at the end of the season. So horses have come out of this race and done well, franking the form, but Highland Reel, as we know, went on to be second in the Arc de Triomphe, won the Breeders' Cup Turf, and then was second in the Hong Kong Vase. He's done very little wrong. His comeback at Meydan in the Shima Classic left a little bit to be desired, but the fact that Aidan O'Brien is bringing him to Epsom for the Coronation Cup. Aidan's won this race on no less than 7 occasions, including with the brilliant St. Nicholas Abbey with his 3-peat. If Aidan's bringing him and is confident, so am I. And
what he seems to want, this horse, he wants top of the ground. We saw that out in America. We saw that on that day at Ascot. He will want that in the Coronation Cup, won't he?
Yeah, and the nice thing is he's a front runner, and front runners tend to have a little bit better cut at the track at Epsom. He's never been to Epsom before, but he should absolutely handle it, because when he won the Breeders' Cup Turf at Santa Anita, the first part of the race was run down the downhill sprint track, which was actually a replica of Epsom and Tattenham Corner. So he's handled that at Santa Anita. He should handle it at Epsom.
We're talking about horses that like to get on with it. Well, one of them, another runner in the race potentially who doesn't mind going forward, is a filly in the form of Journey. And again, she had a superb season last season. She didn't go forward on this occasion, but it culminated with a quite brilliant win on Kipco British Champions Day, this in the fillies and mares. And did she just improve for you throughout last season?
Yeah, when John Gosden put the hood on her, it lit the light bulb up, and towards the end of the season she reeled off 3 straight wins, culminating in this Group 1 success. And the brilliant thing was, in behind her, Speedy Boarding was second. She had won 2 Group 1s in France that season. Queen's Trust third, goes on to win the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mares Turf. 7th Heaven was the quote-unquote disappointing 5th. She's come out and won since in 2017, and in 7th we don't even pay attention to Dermot Wells' mare Zirkova. She won the Grade 1 Man o' War in America just a couple of weeks ago. So this form, in hindsight, is absolutely brilliant, and she just wins this like a good thing.
Do you know, she absolutely bolts out, and you're so right. I looked at it, and I just initially thinking towards the Coronation Cup, I thought, well, she did win that race at Ascot, and I look back at the form.
I know.
It's proper form, isn't it?
Yeah, you just go fillies, end of the season, mile, and then you go, oh my goodness, she's like proper good stuff. And John Gosden can have her ready to go off the break. She's looking to become the first filly in a long time to win the Coronation Cup, but good fillies in the past have, so that's not a concern. And again, she can sit off the flank of St. Nicholas Abbey. Hawkbill might be up there too for Team Godolphin. There might be a lot of pace, so she can sit in behind if she handles the undulations, and she can handle the razzmatazz. The nice thing for her is, since they moved the Coronation Cup to Friday, there'll be a little less hustle and bustle than it would be on a Saturday, and that might suit her better.
We've mentioned Highland Reel. We should also touch upon, also Aidan O'Brien's excellent record in this race. We should also touch upon his brother, who is Idaho, who ran really well in the Derby last year, so we know he handles the track and then progressed nicely. One of the great Voltigeur. Is he a horse that, perhaps like Highland Reel in his 3-year-old season, is going to come into his own as he goes up in age, as he gets to 4 and potentially next season as well? Yeah,
that would suit, because he did end his 3-year-old campaign on a little bit of a downer. Unseating in the St. Leger wasn't his fault, but then he ran really poor in the Canadian International at Woodbine. He's been off since, but Highland Reel, as you said, he seriously improved from 3 to 4, and Idaho shows all the hallmarks of Highland Reel. They both get really sweaty at the start. They're both free runners on the front end, so if he can improve like his brother, we might just have the 2 full brothers going hammer and tongs down the Epsom home stretch, and if that happens, that would just be fantastic.
We've had some small fields, some big fields in recent times for the Coronation Cup, but this looks a really, really strong renewal. Looking forward to that at Epsom this weekend. So we have moved to the screen, which will give us all those clues we need looking ahead to, first of all, the Investec Oaks. And the first filly we're going to look at is Rhododendron, who we saw running in the Kipco 1000 Guineas, finished second, as Rachel has already touched upon, in behind stable companion Winter. What we'll do is we'll just highlight them at this point. There she is, the grey daughter of Galileo, Winter. And here is Rhododendron finishing second. Third was Deban under Frankie Dettori. But as we roll it along, Rachel, there's a key moment where she just gets a little bit held in. This is Rachel's first time with the screen, so it takes getting used to. But excellent. Third time's a charm. Here is a crucial moment, Rachel, where Ryan Moore just has to switch because Unforgettable Filly just comes across her slightly. Now, how important do you think this moment was, Rachel?
I think it was important enough that she would have finished a closer second. We see Winter is already in front of the grey filly, and she got clear run through, but she charged up that hill, whereas Rhododendron, once she finally got out from behind Unforgettable Filly, she took a while to get stoked up. She only did once she hit the rising ground out of the dip at Newmarket. Some horses have trouble with that. She doesn't, because she won the Fillies Mile impressively last year, but once she hit the rising ground, she then began to close. It wasn't a shocking turn of foot like she used to have. In fact, it was a really good run for a horse that you think is going to go much better over much further.
And what you saw when Ryan asked her, when she did get in the clear, it wasn't immediate necessarily, that turn of foot. She did take a while, and as you say, when she hit the rising ground, she then closed on Winter. We've seen the form Frank with Winter going out and winning over in Ireland since her second classic win in the Irish Guineas. So we know the form is there. The big question for Rhododendron is how much do you think the step up in trip is going to suit her?
Well, there's two fun facts about Rhododendron going forward. Is in the last 60 years, 10 fillies have been upset in the Newmarket Classic and have gone on to win the Epsom Classic. So she's in very good company. The last to do that was in 2015, was Qualify for Aidan O'Brien, and the step
up, massive prize.
Oh, massive, 50 to 1.
Yeah, big. Yeah, it was bigger earlier as well. Yeah.
But the great thing is, 4 of Aidan O'Brien's 6 Oaks wins have been with horses that were going from 1 mile to 1.5 miles with no intermediate distance. So she's in fine company, including last year, the likes of Minding 2 years ago, Qualify. So Rhododendron's with the right man in Aidan O'Brien to be able to handle that extra half mile up and trip. One
filly who we know is very likely to stay this distance, certainly on the page, is a filly who was really impressive last time, and that is Enable, who runs in the colours of Prince Khaled Abdullah. She'd made her reappearance at Newbury and finished in behind Shutter Speed and Raheen House, and then this was a much better performance second time of the season. We pick her up under Frankie Dettori. She gets a smart little ride here. Second is Alluringly, who always tracked them. But how important was the ride that this filly got, do you think, as we just run it forward from Frankie Dettori? We know it suits them at Chester to be up with it, but how important was it on this occasion, Rachel?
Well, I think the ride was a winning ride. I think she was a winning filly, but it was definitely helped because Frankie Dettori went forward and tracked the pacemaker Erica Bing, who faded in the end, and he got first run on Ryan Moore, which at Chester, when there's literally only a furlong and a half run in and you're always on the left-handed turn, it was incredibly important.
I just wanted to stop it there because at this stage there was a chance. I remember watching it on the day and thinking she's going to pick her up. She's going to just sweep past on the outside. We saw a fair few do it at Chester on the day, actually. A fair few challenge you just towards the middle did come and win their races. But she's tenacious out in front, this filly, as we roll it on again. And actually, she's always holding the second.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I thought Alluringly, once she got straightened up, was going to run straight on past Enable. But Enable just kept knuckling down and going. Ryan Moore probably rose at this point. He's never going to catch him. But what impressed me is Frankie still eases her down quite severely in the stretch, and she is still absolutely full of run. She's a daughter of Nathaniel. The 1.5 miles is going to be right up her street. And the good thing to note is that this race was over a mile, 11.5 furlongs. So 1 mile, 3.5 furlongs. They're the only 2 fillies, Enable and Alluringly, who have actually been anywhere near 12 furlongs. So we won't be concerned about them staying the Oaks distance.
We also have, for John Gosden, we have Coronet in there, who's got some Zetland Stakes one from last year, which looks very, very strong. She was beaten on her reappearance over in France. And we've also got Horseplay, who won the Pretty Polly. A line on each of those for us, Rachel.
Coronet, as you said, won the Zetland Coonco, Permian, Derby horses were in behind. She was third in the Prix St. Hilary down in France on her comeback run behind Godolphin Subetsu. She'll definitely improve for this step up to 1.5 miles because she's very stoutly bred for the distance.
Horseplay.
She was impressive when she ran her comeback run with the Pretty Polly. 4 horses have come out of the Pretty Polly recently and gone on to win the Oaks, including the brilliant Tagruta. I thought that was a good run. Her trainer, Andrew Balding, is a perfect 1-for-1 in the Epsom Fillies Classic with Casual Look back in 2003. And the important thing, when they had the Breakfast with the Stars to allow horses to go and test out the undulations of Epsom, she was the only Oaks filly who went, and by all accounts she handled the track really well.
She has had experience of the track. Another one that's had experience of the track is Daddy's Lil Darling, because Kenny McPeak seems to post a video every day on social media. He's the American trainer of Daddy's Lil Darling, and he embodies the spirit of Epsom and these classics, because he's relishing his time over here, and so's the filly.
No, so this is the first ever American trained filly to run in the Oaks. There have been several who have tried and in fact won the Derby, but this is the first Oaks contender. Kenny McPeak's been trying for years to get one, and he finally has one. She was runner-up in the Kentucky Oaks just a few weeks ago, and she's been handling the undulations and the atmosphere of Epsom. She's been schooling in the paddock every day. She will know what is expected of her come the first Friday in June, unlike some of the other fillies, and she's a big price, but I think she has a chance to go a lot better than other people think.
Yeah, fascinating participant, and as I say, Ken McPeak's just been a pleasure to deal with as he bids to win the Oaks with Daddy's Little Darling. We can hear from some more connections now of the main Oaks contenders.
The 3-year-old middle distance fillies is a division that certainly in the early part of this season you look to have a very strong hand in, and after the Cheshire Oaks, Enable really stamped her class that day. How is she?
She's in good form. We're very pleased with her. Obviously, Chester is a nice prelude to coming here. It's no mistake that Aidan uses it a lot to have a feel for Epsom. And look, she ran a lovely race. We're very pleased with her. And similarly, Coronet, who came from last to be third in the St. Hilary over 1.25 miles in France, ran at a good trial. She wants 1.5 miles. But I think the Oaks is a really, really high quality field. A very legitimate favourite who didn't get a very good run in the Guineas, but is bred in the Purple to get 1.5 miles, and is that beautifully balanced type of filly of a neatness about her that should handle this track extremely well. So, no, the Oaks looks a fabulous version.
You know, I've always said if I had a horse good enough and I thought we fit the race and things came together, I'd love to bring a horse for either the Derby or the Oaks. I actually had a colt for the Derby that I advised the owner to run, and he didn't want to. And in this case, you know, Mrs. Polk, the owner of Daddy's Little Darling, said, if you think we'd run well, then let's go. And so so we're putting it together.
It's a moment of history, though. Does that sort of, does it make you proud? What's the sort of feeling? Or are you just here with a filly who really hasn't an entitled chance to be here?
You know, my job's to win horse races. This is a filly that needs to win a Group 1. She's been second in 3 Group 1s, which is a little frustrating for us. And the opportunity for Group 1s for 3-year-old fillies is limited in the U.S. right now. There isn't a race that suits her until mid-August, and that's the Alabama at Saratoga. But in the meantime, she's doing well, and she's trained over my gallops in Kentucky, and you know, we need to win a Group 1 with her, and I think it's a good spot, and I think it's going to be certainly a bit of a learning curve, but she's up to the task. It's a very good filly, and she's been really doing well lately.